Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share some really important news about Bitcoin and how the United States government is now openly talking about it. We're going to break it down in simple words, no jargon, no technical confusion. By the end of this video, you'll see why the US is moving in this direction, what it means for you and me, and even for countries like Pakistan, which have been struggling with debt for decades. So let's start with something new called the Genius Act. That stands for Guiding and Establishing National Innovation for US Stablecoins. Now, I know the name sounds complicated, but here's the simple version. The US Senate has passed this law to regulate stablecoins. These are digital tokens tied to something stable, usually the US dollar. People use them in crypto to move money quickly without the crazy ups and downs of Bitcoin or Ethereum. According to Investopedia and the Financial Times, this law forces companies that issue stablecoins to back them with real reserves, provide audits, and give transparency. In other words, no fake tokens backed by thin air. Every stablecoin must have a real dollar or some real asset behind it. Why does this matter? Because stablecoins are the bridge between traditional money and digital money. If stablecoins become trustworthy, then more people, banks, and institutions will feel comfortable moving into the broader crypto space. And that indirectly makes it easier for Bitcoin adoption to grow. Now let's talk about the really big news, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. In March 2025, President Trump signed an executive order to establish a US Strategic Bitcoin Reserve and a digital asset stockpile. This was reported by Politico and officially published on the White House website. What does this mean? It means that for the first time in history, the US government has formally acknowledged Bitcoin as a strategic asset. They plan to hold Bitcoin in the same way they hold gold or foreign currency reserves. And here's the interesting part. The order says the US will explore budget-neutral ways to acquire more Bitcoin. In simple words, that means they don't want taxpayers to pay extra. They'll use seized Bitcoins, reallocate assets, or even revalue their gold reserves to fund these purchases. So while it may take time, the trajectory is clear. The United States is preparing to make Bitcoin part of its balance sheet. You might be wondering, why is the US doing this now? The answer is simple: debt. The United States is currently sitting on more than $37 trillion in national debt. That's a number so big, it's almost impossible to imagine. Every year, the government needs to borrow more just to pay interest on old debt. According to Cointelegraph, some experts believe that adding Bitcoin to national reserves could act as a hedge, a protection against the collapse of the fiat system. And Senator Cynthia Lummis has even proposed revaluing America's massive gold reserves and using that surplus to start buying Bitcoin. That way, they can do it without printing more dollars or increasing debt. So, whether we like it or not, debt is pushing the US to look at alternatives. And Bitcoin, being scarce, global, and outside of political control, is becoming that alternative. Now let's bring this back to you and me. For individuals, Bitcoin is a way to protect savings against inflation. If you've noticed groceries, rent, or fuel prices going up every year, that's inflation eating away at your money. Holding some Bitcoin means holding something that can't be printed away. For institutions like pension funds, hedge funds, and even corporate treasuries, Bitcoin is about diversification. Imagine if a pension fund in Europe or Pakistan is holding only government bonds and fiat currency. Every year, inflation erodes that value. But even a small allocation to Bitcoin could provide long-term protection. And this is exactly why companies like MicroStrategy and even some governments are already stacking Bitcoin. They see what's coming. Let's not forget countries like Pakistan. For decades, Pakistan has been under financial strain. Debt keeps piling up and governments are forced into refinancing deals with the IMF. This debt cycle keeps repeating, leaving little room for real growth. Now imagine if a country like Pakistan started building a Bitcoin reserve. Instead of relying only on dollars, loans, and aid packages, it could hold an asset that the IMF cannot devalue, that no central bank can manipulate. That's the promise of Bitcoin, financial independence, especially for countries trapped in debt. I'm not saying this happens overnight, but the US taking steps towards a Bitcoin reserve makes it easier for other countries to consider the same path. So What's the bigger picture here? The Genius Act makes stablecoins safer and builds trust in digital money. The strategic Bitcoin reserve signals that the US sees Bitcoin as a serious asset. The $37 trillion debt crisis is forcing governments to look for real solutions, and Bitcoin is now on the table. It won't happen tomorrow. It might take years. But the direction is clear. Bitcoin is moving from the fringes into the mainstream of government and institutional finance. For individuals like us, that means the window of opportunity to learn, to stack, and to prepare is right now. So, to wrap up, Bitcoin is no longer just for geeks, traders, or early adopters. It's becoming part of national strategies, and as the US takes these steps, the rest of the world will follow. That's it for today. If you found this helpful, hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe for more conversations on Bitcoin, Pakistan, the UK, Europe, and the world economy. See you in the next video.